Imagine a root that hides in the earth like an ancient secret, capable of surviving where any ordinary carrot would turn to tasteless mush. It doesn't grow alone, like a typical carrot or turnip. It builds an entire underground colony, like a tiny kingdom, with hundreds of intertwined white fingers, each holding sweetness and strength. You might think this is a fantastical tale from an alchemy book, but it is reality. And people once revered it with the same awe that modern humans reserve for gold or rare oil. This root is not just a vegetable. It was a true wonder of nature, a source of energy, sweetness, and vitamins, long before sugar became a commodity. When compared to modern vegetables, it shines with its uniqueness: sweet, dense, aromatic, resilient. It could be dug up in the middle of winter, when almost all other plants slept or had rotted, providing nourishing power capable of sustaining a person or even an entire community. It was a genuine superfood of its time, so potent that it was considered nearly magical. But what makes it truly remarkable is that it is perennial. Unlike familiar vegetables that die after a single season and require yearly sowing, this root grows again and again. Plant it once, and it creates a permanent underground realm, yielding harvests for years to come. This is not just labor-saving. It is the freedom from the annual struggle with seeds and weeding. And each finger you dig up preserves its unique sweetness. Every piece is packed with natural energy and vitamins. The taste of this root can only be described by comparison. Modern carrots feel empty and watery, almost odorless. But this root is concentrated pleasure. It combines sweetness with a subtle nutty note. Its aroma carries a freshness and complexity impossible to replicate artificially. When you taste it, you realize that modern vegetables are mere pale shadows of what nature could create. Its history of value is astonishing. Imagine Roman emperors paying for it not with money, but with roots themselves, transporting them across cold mountains and rivers as if they were rare delicacies or strategic resources. People prized its flavor and properties so highly that it became a symbol of wealth and status. In the monasteries of medieval Europe, this root was a staple, allowing survival through harsh winter months when grain stores ran out and new vegetables were not yet available. Dug from the semi-frozen ground, it provided essential sugar and starch to sustain the health of monks and locals. Now imagine that this plant is not only useful but clever in its survival. When frost hits, many plants die or turn bitter, yet this root only becomes sweeter. Cold stimulates its natural sugar, as if the earth itself offers a sweet gift. This is true biological magic. The colder it gets, the better it tastes. It is nearly invulnerable to the elements, frost, snow, prolonged winters, and will survive where any other plant would perish. But beyond survival, it was a source of inspiration and delight. Picture medieval monks turning it into sweet pancakes, boiling, stewing, or eating it raw, savoring its rich flavor. It was a bridge between winter's monotony and spring's joy, a source of energy and taste in a time of limited food options. Every bite brought joy, vitality, and the sense that the earth itself cared for humankind. What is especially striking is how little is known about it today. Imagine a plant once more valuable than gold to the elite, now a rarity in our gardens and markets. It survived centuries, witnessing the fall of empires and the shift of eras, yet most people today don't even know it exists. And this is no coincidence. It is hard to standardize, inconvenient to harvest. Its fingers do not fit the conveyor system of modern agriculture, yet its magic remains hidden underground, waiting for us to notice again. This root is a reminder that nature creates not only utility, but wonder, and that sometimes the most precious things lie where we least expect them. It teaches us to value diversity, complexity, and genuine enjoyment of food that cannot be artificially replicated. Here lies the first lesson. The world of food is far richer and more astonishing than we imagine. And if you are willing to look deeper, you will discover a whole realm of forgotten crops, each carrying history, flavor, and magic that modern food simply cannot offer. This root is not merely a vegetable. It is a living piece of history, its taste capable of astonishing even the most discerning gourmet, holding a power we have lost but can reclaim. And here's the question that makes one pause. If such a root could survive empires and centuries, endure frost and famine, why have we forgotten it? Why was the earth, capable of giving us perfect taste, replaced by dull, standardized vegetables? This thought leads to the next revelation, a story of disappearance, not caused by disease or pests, but by shifts in our thinking and culture. While you ponder this, imagine this root growing in your hands again. You plant it once, and it returns every season, strong, sweet, ready to nourish and astonish. It awaits those willing to open their eyes and remember that true food is not just energy, it is magic, history, and extraordinary taste. Imagine a scene, a bright market, full of vegetables, rows of neat, shiny, perfectly straight carrots, identical, as if copied from the same template. They are beautiful, convenient, easy to pack and sell. But among them hides a forgotten root, the very one that fed emperors for centuries and saved people from famine. Its twisted white fingers look alien, wild, almost frightening, as if it doesn't belong to this world. And here arises the first question. How could such a miracle, once more valuable than gold, become forgotten, displaced, and almost erased from our memory? The answer lies not in disease, insects, or impracticality. It lies in human choice and in the shift of our relationship to food. In the 17th century, agriculture began to change. Plants were no longer grown for taste and survival, but for marketability, trade, and standardization. The demand for the perfect product emerged: straight, smooth, uniform. Any deviation from the standard was considered defective. And here our root faced its greatest threat: the industrial system, which recognizes no miracles. Imagine farmers being forced to choose between uniqueness and efficiency. On one side, the root, which survives the winter, enriches with vitamins, delivers deep flavor, and requires only patience. On the other side, the carrot, straighter and brighter, easier to package, perfectly suited for mechanical harvesting. And humans chose not the magic of flavor, but convenience. Not the power of nature, but the ease of the assembly line. And so the great gifts of the earth began to vanish. This root was too complex for the mechanical era. Its fingers clung to the soil, held sand and clay, hiding their treasures in bends and clusters. Try to run such a harvest through an industrial washer or peeler. It would jam, break, demand human care. Every movement had to be careful, every branch checked. Machines hated it, and humans, lazy in the industrial sense, chose the carrot. From that moment, magic existed outside the system. What cannot be automated ceases to exist on the market. But it wasn't just technology, it was how we began to eat with our eyes, not our mouths. The human eye is drawn to cleanliness, symmetry, and brightness. People chose visual pleasure, forgetting taste, depth, and richness. The twisted white root seemed ugly, wild, alien. It looks like a weed, some said. Better buy a straight carrot, others agreed. And so habit and visual culture displaced centuries of true value. The story of this root is tragic. It survived cold winters, famine, emperors, wars, and the fall of empires, but could not survive machines and standards. It became a victim of human greed for convenience and ease, which destroyed its legacy. Now a rare botanical garden is the only place where it can be found, like a ghost from the past. But the forgetting did not happen instantly. It was gradual, almost imperceptible. Generation after generation, farmers chose what was convenient, beautiful, and fast-selling. Seed catalogs stopped including it. Markets stopped ordering it. Stores stopped selling it. Within a few decades, the once precious root had almost vanished. Its place was taken by industrial carrots, beautiful, straight, predictable, yet stripped of the magic, flavor, and strength that the ancient root provided. Within this tragic shift lies a profound lesson. Progress and convenience are not always equal to quality. We lost biodiversity, unique flavors, nutritional value, and a genuine connection to the earth. The irony is that the root, which could survive the harshest conditions and feed people, perished simply because it did not fit the rules of the assembly line. Here we see a conflict of eras: wild, magical nature versus mechanized standardization, uniqueness versus convenience, flavor and vitality versus form and symmetry. This root is a symbol of the lost depth of food and nature, once taken for granted but neglected in favor of comfort and visual appeal. It is in this tragic contrast that wonder and regret arise. How could such a powerful, resilient, and sweet plant be almost entirely forgotten? It did not disappear because it was weak, but because the world chose ease over depth, a template over magic. And here the observer begins to ask, if human civilization could so easily abandon a true miracle of nature, what else do we lose every day, choosing convenience and standardization over flavor, strength, and history? This root is not merely a story of forgetting. It is a warning. What we ignore today may vanish forever tomorrow. Yet even in this tragic situation, there is a glimmer of hope. Despite all the forces of industry and oblivion, the root continues to live in the most hidden corners of the world, in botanical gardens, in old village gardens, in the memories of elders. It waits for someone willing to face history, take it in their hands, and return it to life, back to the garden and to the table. Imagine standing in your garden, your hands digging into the soil, and you stumble upon the familiar curves of white fingers, a root that for centuries was considered a treasure. It seems to whisper, "You have found me again." No, this is not fantasy. It is reality for those who choose to seek the true wealth of nature, rather than the convenience of stores and standardized vegetables. This root is a true wonder for the modern gardener. You plant it once, and it returns every season, like a faithful friend. It does not require yearly sowing, complex techniques, or chemical fertilizers. It survives on its own, self-regulates its growth, stores sweetness and nutrients in its roots, ready to share them with you whenever you decide to dig it up. And here lies the real magic. You do not exhaust the plant. You are tending a living colony that takes care of itself. But the taste? Oh, the taste is another story. The root's sweetness is so deep and layered that with the first bite it feels as though you are tasting the past. The flavor of centuries, complexity, and richness impossible to reproduce artificially. A subtle nutty note, the scent of fresh earth, a hint of spice, and you realize that the modern carrot is just a pale shadow of what nature itself created. This taste connects you to history, to the people who once cultivated this root and valued it as highly as we value rare delicacies today. But it's not just about flavor. This root is a superhero for your nutrition. It stores vitamins, minerals, and energy in every root, especially when the cold penetrates the soil. Frost makes it sweeter, denser, and more intense, as if nature herself encourages you to savor every bite. And all this without effort. No chemicals, no water injection, just the pure, authentic power of the earth. For the permaculture designer, it is a true treasure. Under fruit trees, in the shade, or in empty flower beds where sun-loving vegetables cannot survive, this root grows effortlessly, filling empty spaces with nutritious, calorie-rich soil. It suppresses weeds, enriches the earth, gathers nutrients from deep below, all while making the garden appear lush and fertile. You harvest from spaces once considered barren. And here is the most remarkable part. You can cook it any way you like. Roast it in the oven, and it develops a caramelized sweetness. Simmer it in broth, and the aroma fills the entire kitchen. Fry it in oil, and it transforms into a sweet, crispy delicacy that can astonish even the most refined gourmets. Every preparation is a small magic, every bite a revelation. You are literally bringing the taste of history into your life. There is also a philosophical meaning. By growing this root, you participate in a quiet yet powerful revolution. You reject the standards imposed by the industrial system and say, I choose flavor, magic, and history over convenience. Your garden becomes a place where nature and humanity work together, where food is not just energy, but an entire story, a culture, an adventure. And this is where the emotion arises. You are not merely gardening, you are restoring forgotten heritage. You taste flavors once cherished by emperors and monks. You hold in your hands a living miracle that survived wars, frost, and oblivion. Every time you bite into it, you connect with nature, with history, with the very process of life. Most importantly, it gives a sense of control and freedom. In a modern world where everything is packaged, standardized, labeled, and simplified, you hold a living, breathing culture that grows on its own, but shares its gifts with you. You witness the process, you participate, and this creates a unique connection to food, to the earth, and to yourself. This root is not just a vegetable. It is philosophy, magic, history, health, and joy all at once. It is a challenge to industrial thinking, proof that true wonders do not vanish if someone is willing to seek and nurture them. You are not merely growing a plant. You are returning to the world the taste, power, and depth that were nearly lost. And when you finally taste it fresh, straight from the garden, the sweetness and aroma explode on your tongue, and you understand, this is not just nourishment. It is a true discovery, a return to roots, to essence, to real food that unites humans and nature in an extraordinary dance. Every time you plant this root, you create a legacy. Next winter, next year, it will grow again, sweeter, stronger, ready to astonish, nourish, and inspire. You do what machines could not, what industry could not, what the standard supermarket could not. You restore to humanity the true taste, magic, and history that were almost forgotten. And in that moment, the realization dawns. This story is not about the past. It is about the present, about the future, about what we can reclaim if we choose to. This root is a symbol that the extraordinary is still within reach, that the power of nature is alive, and that each of us can become a guardian of this remarkable heritage. You grow it, eat it, love it, and in that moment, you understand that small actions can restore what was lost. The magic beneath the soil comes alive again, beginning with your hands, your garden, and your desire to open your eyes to real food.